This is a Gen Z Future Fortunes podcast, hosted by Jordan Johnson. This podcast will help you in the following areas: money management skills, teaching you to control your debt, building wealth building strategies, entrepreneurship, and most importantly, to show you how you can do this yourself. So tune in and turn up.
Welcome back to another episode of the Gen Z Future Fortunes podcast. Right before the cameras cut on, I was saying I feel like I'm in finals, back-to-back games. This is like the third video I've done in the past, 2 hours. So we rolling, we trying to get some good content for y'all. But I have Anthony here with me. I'm going to let him introduce himself, tell the viewers a little about himself, what he's about.
So my name is Anthony Spencer. I'm president of Apex Finance Brokerage. So we're a full-service insurance and finance firm. We mainly focus on working with small business owners and mid-sized businesses on their supplemental benefits packages, as well as their general employee benefits packages that they offer throughout their businesses. And I'm also vice president of Safe Choice LLC. We're a women-owned minority business in Northeast Ohio. We provide unarmed police officers, security guards, bodyguard services all throughout Northeast Ohio, as well as camera systems, alarm systems, entry and exit systems, that type of thing. So I like to say we're a one-stop shop for all of your security needs. It's been fun building a business, I would say.
And you said you're 26, right?
Yes, I'm 26 years old. Safe Choice was founded in 2010, so this is going on our 11th year in business.
11th year? It's a good tenure. For the insurance, you say for the Safe Choice, that's the security company, right?
Yes, sir.
Are y'all only focused on women's businesses, or do you provide services to more than just women?
Oh, no. We're a woman-owned business. My mother owns 51% of the business. Well, we service all different businesses all around Northeast Ohio. Some of our bigger contracts include Cleveland Hopkins Airport. We do a lot of work with Dominion Energy. We're at the West Side Market, just to name a few.
That's good. I've never heard of somebody owning a security company. Not that I knew personally or that I was close enough to. What? You said your mother started that business?
My father and my mother did that.
Do you know what made them want to get into security?
Yeah, my old man's a detective for Cleveland still currently. He's a vice detective downtown. And, he's been on the force since '99. And right around 2010, 09, the financial markets collapsed in 2009. And my old man, he was really heavy into the real estate market, rental game. So when that market fell, he got caught with his pants down, and he had to, pivot and, find something else. And just by the nature of his job and his business, he's always able to, his job is always able to pick up extra work part-time around the city, whether it's working downtown at the club or, working, side hustle at a restaurant or something like that. And then, instead of you going to work, you send someone to work for you, and that allows you to go to work somewhere else, and you start the business one location at a time.
Definitely, I feel like scaling is a huge thing when it comes to business. You definitely got to look to, if that's really what you want, if your dream is to scale, I feel like that's a good thing to do, scaling. Just really getting out there so you can branch out and just do different things, try your hand at different things. But can you speak on your upbringing, what got Anthony to where he is today, growing up, high school, middle school, even your childhood, or what kind of conditioned you to be where you are today? Because you seem like an ambitious person. I can read that from the few minutes that we've been sitting here talking to each other.
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I'd say it's a few different things, but growing up, my father, he had a lot of brothers, I had a lot of uncles, and just all the stories about all the different businesses they were doing and whatnot was definitely impactful. And then I had a couple of different impactful moments in my life, my first job when I was 13, I rolled up to the cleaners and was helping my uncle who was a tailor. I was helping him in his shop. This was before, you couldn't get a job legally until you're 14, but I was still trying to make some extra money. So I went there, and he really, was teaching me how business work and kind of got me into the tailored clothing, game. That's why I probably own one pair of tennis shoes. But, that started when I was like 13. And between that and then I went to a couple, my mother put me in this camp. It was called East City. It was back when I was I think like I said, maybe 13 or 14. And it was a summer camp. And you went to Case Western and you sat through the class and you basically had to build your own business. And then they actually gave you the money to start it or start a version of a business, and you go out and try to make some money. And you come back and do the whole business plan, talk to everybody, and do a decompression. And it was a very learning experience. I think I created a cookie company where we had to source all the ingredients for the cookies and quantities, get down to a price per goods, cost of goods sold, and try to work out the budget and all stuff. You're doing this at 13, so it definitely is mind-boggling. It shows you, and then they said, all right, here's $500 or $1,000, and then said, if this business isn't what you want to do, we're gonna you have a business, create a business and some form of a business and sell items. So I went and bought a bunch of Italian ice from Corbo's actually. I got Italian ice and water. And I went up there outside the West Side Market on a Saturday when they're most busiest. It was middle of the summer. I think I made $600 in 3 hours. And it was wow, this shit really works. And it's that type of experience, can't be beat. I did go to college, and I do, know that there's a lot of value in that. I think there's a lot of now. I can also tell you I wouldn't be the same guy if I didn't go to college. Because the smartest people will tell you it's more about who you meet in college rather than actually going to college itself. The connections you get from that. But I would definitely say, as far as real world experience, there's nothing that beats actually getting out there and doing it yourself.
I definitely agree with you because I personally, I'm not gonna say I don't believe in college, but it's just something that I feel like isn't the right choice for me. I'm not going to college. So I definitely believe that real world experience, I won't say it's superior to a college experience or learning in college or a college education, because education is education, knowledge is knowledge, knowledge is definitely power. But me personally, I'm just a more hands-on person. I like doing things. So yeah, I feel like college, it's not the right step for me. But like you said, you were doing things at a young age, 13, 14. Did you understand the importance of how that was training you and how that was getting you ready for where you are today? Did you really understand that at 13, would you say? Or do you feel like you were just going through the motions, just doing it because your parents wanted you to do it?
I mean, I say I understood it. I would say that.
You think you understood it to the extent that, as big as it is, did you really understand the whole?
It's all about your mindset and how you're raised. I mean, my father's been talking to me about business since I could understand how to have a conversation with it. I'm 6, 7, 8 years old. As soon as you can talk, you got to talk about these different things. And, from a kid, he wouldn't put anything together in the house. If you bought something, I had to figure out how to put it together, assemble it, put it together. I mean, this one, as soon as I know how to use a screwdriver. I remember my mom getting mad because I was barely big enough to hold the handlebars in the lawnmower when he was making me push it. So I think it's all about, your mindset. I maybe didn't know how it was preparing me ultimately to run a business in the future, but I understood that it was important for me to learn this information. I found it interesting. I found it much more interesting trying to figure that out than math class, even at 13, 14. So, I mean, at that point, I was just this is very interesting to me. I was trying to figure it out. And then at 15 is when we started Safe Choice.
At 15?
Yeah, I was 15 years old. I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, because 11 years, I'm 26, so I was 15. And that was, I took over going to work for my father. I was a first employee, and I was going to work at 4:30 in the morning to 7:45. I would leave there and go straight to school, high school. So, I mean, I didn't really have a lot of time between me learning the information to me needing to apply it. So it's as soon as I learned it, 12, 13, 14, 15, we started the business. So, I mean, it was maybe a perfect storm, I would say. But I didn't really get a chance to reminisce on my information and go off. Like, I came back from college. I was in upstate New York. I came baast to Cleveland State to help run the business because they needed help. So it was like, the sales, marketing, all that good stuff. So, it's been around for a while. I might have had a relatively unique experience, and I don't think that everybody in that class went through this understanding the importance of it. But a friend of mine was in it, and he owns his own business now too. So I think the exposure, whether or not you know or aware of how important it is important.
I like that you just said the word exposure because that's something I'm huge on. I was actually just speaking about that to the last guest before you. We were just talking about how, because she had asked me, she said that she recognizes that I'm very ambitious for a young person and that I got a good head on my shoulders, basically. But she was asking, basically what got me to where I am today. And I was just telling her, exposure. I just had to give credit to my parents. They exposed me to a lot of things at a young age. And I feel like that you can relate to that from listening to what you're saying. But can you just elaborate on how important exposure is, especially at such a young age?
To your point, kind of reiterate what I was saying earlier. I think a lot of people, they lack basic, interactions that a lot of other people, take for granted. Like, my old man was, there my whole life. A lot of people didn't have that. I think all my parents actually have also been married my whole life. A lot of people didn't have that either. Moving from home, between home to home. Some people's parents, you go to, I got a cousin right now, she goes to her mother's house and is exposed to a completely different environment than when she's at her father's house. So it's, to your point, I think a lot of what we do is psycho conditioning. And, if you go through a situation every day, then you're going to start to, feel like that and move like that. That's why daily affirmations are. And now she turns into, the young killer, that old block and all that started. All that all started off because she was literally in school on the honor roll, watched her friend die in front of her, and now she became a cold-blooded killer and started a whole, gang movement. So exposure can be positive or negative. It's definitely.
Exposure is definitely huge. It can definitely lead to big results, like you said, positive or negative. It just depends on how you take it, how you internalize it, and what you do with it.
My high school years were consumed by football practice, workouts, and training. From 2010 to 2012, I attended over 50 college camps across the country. I've been to schools such as USC, UCLA, Georgia, North Carolina, Ohio State, Penn State, and more. And about 90% of these camps, my dad stood on the sideline and coached me up and watched me perform.
What is your major? What did you major in college?
Business and political science.
Business. What do you feel like caused you to pick that major?
Because I was already doing business at the time. And honestly, another big reason I was going to school is because if I decided if I wanted to run for office one day, I needed a college degree. That is slowly becoming less and less true. Obviously, what was it now, 6-7 years ago when I was 6 years ago when I first went to college, that was definitely the case. So yeah.
And when you say office, are you referring to presidential?
No, I'm referring to any political office. You usually don't start running for president, but even if I'm a leverage guy, so it might not suit me to be president. Presidents don't make that much money. They make like $400,000 a year. So you're looking at office for more of a leverage and a power thing. If you become city council, now I can improve my developments. I want to get improved. Just little stuff like that. It just depends. I didn't know what I wanted to do in the future. I just wanted to keep my options open.
I feel you. What you just said lets me know that you have high standards. You say 400,000 is not a lot.
Well, it's a lot now. $100,000 is a lot of money. It's relative, but to cap your income at that, to me, is
you don't want to limit yourself.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. If you 65, 70 years old, you're making $400,000 a year, you're doing very well for yourself. There's no way indicative that I'm just saying. I don't want to limit myself. One big thing my old man told me is that I set my goals too low. He was like, when I was growing up, my goal was to be married, have kids, take care of not even married. He's like, get married, take care of my mother, buy a house. He's like, I did that by the time I was like 26. I was like, oh, what do I do now? So, you can never set your goals to myself. I don't necessarily have a dollar amount. I don't really have a goal. All I know is that everything sounds too small.
I like that. You got to keep moving the goalpost. You can't get content in life. You can't get too complacent, because once you get too complacent, that's when you start to get past. That's when you start to miss opportunities. So you just got to stay hungry. You got to keep striving for the next thing. You got to keep looking for what's next. So I definitely agree with you there. You got any questions for me?
No, I think
I'm trying to think I had a question conversation for it.
No, you're good, man. I think it's an interesting, dynamic though that the world we're living in general. I think it's really important for people to keep having these types of conversations, just having open dialogues, talking to each other, sharing information, sharing different inspirational stories. Because at the end of the day, like change is only made one conversation at a time. I mean, as easy as it is to see something, a politician running for office, they got those votes because the volunteers went door to door and knocked and asked people to vote for them. That was part of the reason Obama won, is that he mobilized entire demographics of people that had never voted before. So whereas, the Republicans were campaigning in certain situations, where they always have been, Obama had people in the projects going out to vote that had never voted their entire life. Aunties and uncles who didn't believe in the system were going to get, registered to vote just to vote for him. So, and that's just because he was able to inspire people and that door to door they felt that connection. So, I'm not sure if we're going to see that again anytime soon, but I think in general it's important to keep, impactful conversations moving forward.
You mentioned Obama. I got to do more research on Obama's presidency, man. When he first came into office, what was that, 2008?
Yeah.
I was only 6 years old, so I had no idea what was going on. I didn't know anything about the economy. Because I know around that time, that's when things were like real bad. That's when the economy was on a downturn. That's when everything was. I know people were getting laid off from their jobs around then. I think.
Yeah, it was a great recession. They like to call it.
Yeah, I guess I want to do more research on Obama's presidency, because people say, I don't really know what he did. Like, I haven't really done no research on it.
The question is, what is any president really done? See, I've become somewhat of a history guy. And I can tell you, you can't really judge a presidency until at least 20 years after it happened. You're not going to see the permanent effects. And in whatever side of the fence you're on, because being a business owner, I might not be on the side of the Affordable Care Act, but if he truly paved the way to universal health care in America, your kids' will be thinking of it. You might hate him. You might think he didn't do anything for the black community. But when your auntie who is laid off from work, his little daughter gets in a car crash, and she's got a broken arm and needs to go rush into surgery, and they don't stop her and ask her for insurance, then they're going to be appreciative. It's the people who don't experience these things and don't know how important they are. So,
it's definitely.
I think there'll be some time until we're really able to discern or judge Obama based on his presidency. I'll say that because I hear a lot of negative things about him. What did he do for this? But honestly, anyone who says that can't tell me what any president has ever done for them. So
I definitely see where you're coming from. Can you I definitely, in the few minutes that we've been talking, I definitely get a feel that you're a very mindful person. Like, I feel like you know a lot of stuff. Can you just speak to the power of manifestation? Because I feel like that's something that you're big on. Even though we haven't even discussed that topic yet, I feel like that's something that you're big on.
I think I'm big on it. I think I'm also big on doing it too. Like, I think that a lot of people, I think you have to manifest what you want in a twofold way. It's one thing to get up and say something. It's another thing to do it. Cartwright showed me a speech by Art Williams, a guy who revolutionized the insurance world. He was selling more insurance than MetLife and New York Life and Prudential. And, in his big, long speech, at the end, all he said is, if you want to be successful on the road, you just got to get out and you just got to do it. Everybody can talk about it. Everybody can say they want to do it. I say a part of manifestation is making it happen. You can't just sit in the corner and wish it all day. Anybody can do that. So I just think that that's one of the biggest differences between successful people and successful people is that step further after that manifestation. It's enough to wake up and speak words of affirmation and say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get it done, this is what's going to happen. What happens when you get to the office? What happens when you get out of bed? What happens when you leave the house? Because I can tell you there's a lot of people who aren't saying those things that are still getting it done. So.
It definitely comes to a point where you can't just talk about it. You have to put things into action. That's something I'm understanding now. I'm definitely big on manifestation. I definitely like to speak things into existence, but like you said, there does come a time when you can't just talk about it. You actually have to go out and do it. So I definitely agree with you there.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of two. I don't want to take anything away. I think that people misinterpret manifestation as just sitting in a corner with your legs crossed, meditating. I think it's a twofold. I think you got to go meditate and you got to get up and act.
It's more intentional than
much more intentional than wishing. Which I feel like a lot of people believe that to me, or misinterpret that to me.
They just expect things to come to them just because they say it. Like, I want $1 million. Most people that say that, I feel like they wouldn't even know what to do with $1 million if you had given it to them today.
Yeah, they would. They spend it.
Bro, yeah, they definitely will spend it, but I feel like that's the wrong thing to do.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying they know. I'm not saying they know the right thing to do. I'm just saying I know what they do.
Yeah, you know what they do.
I know exactly what they do.
Come watch talk show host Stephanie Gates as she gets into the hottest real estate topics right here on House Notes TV on YouTube. Make sure you like and subscribe to House Notes TV for more to come.
Yeah, a little bit. I recently started studying options trading. So I just seen so much. Overall, stocks go up. So if you have the money to buy them, you'll make a fortune. You'll make a fortune. I mean, overall, if you buy an option for 2022, we all know that Apple, no matter how up and down it's going to go, it's going to be a lot higher than 130 in 2022. But you need $50,000 to get a sizable position, even leverage. So it's all about your situations. But yeah, the stock market is interesting. Just don't be quick to throw away. Do your research, study, get some mentors, get some people who know what they're doing first. Especially when you're trying to day trade. If you're talking about just buying some blue chip stock and holding it for a long time, that's fine. You can do that all day long. But if you're in there trying to do put spreads and buy calls and all that other stuff, that's how the kids wake up and they see negative $100,000 in their account and they go hang themselves. So they think they owe all that money. If they call it an option, you gotta pay. So.
That's something I've been studying a lot recently. So I recently bought a book. It's called Understanding Options. So I've been reading that. I got a Robinhood brokerage account, so I've just been putting money in there. Just reading a lot about stocks. I've been watching a lot of videos because I feel like it's the perfect time to get into the stock market right now. We're in unprecedented times where we just saw the economy literally shut down for basically like a year, almost 2 years. So this is something that the world has never seen before. We literally stopped physical movement for almost more than a year. So I feel like it's something different right now. Like there's a different feel to the economy right now. So that's why I feel like it's great to get into the stock market right now. So you could actually make some gains. But like you said, what I'm doing, I have some money in some blue chip stocks, like some higher end companies. And right now I just plan on holding those for about 10 years, just seeing what they do. Because with stocks, I feel like you need to be real patient. Because a lot of people, they just dump money in stocks. And if they don't see a great return after a month, they're like, this isn't worth it. And they just quit or sell their investment and take their loss. And I feel like you gotta, do you listen to On Your Leisure?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I listen to them often, and they always say that in order for you to realize the gain that you actually get from your stock investment, you have to allow it to mature for at least 10 years. And I feel like people don't have that patience. They can't wait 10 years. So that's something that I'm trying to understand myself. You just got to be patient. You got to allow stuff to mature before you quit it. Like, you can't just jump into something, and if you don't see what you want to see in a few years or a few months.
I mean, at that point, I'd bench your employee to just put your money in like a money managed account and do like some form of like a cash value, i.e. low policy, where you're investing in an indexed annuity monthly at a certain rate, and that's putting it in a index of accounts and the blue chip accounts that they've identified, and it minimizes your risk. But I'm not gonna lie to you though, I'm not putting $2,000 in the stock market to wait 10 years for a return. That's absurd. No, that's what you do. No, look, it's all about leverage. I mean, the thing is, where you gonna? How old are you now?
I'm 18.
You're 18 to make you a return on your money. Like I said, if you want to invest in the stock market in that manner, small amounts of money, do a monthly consistent investment, $100, $200, $300 into some index annuity that'll give you exposure to a wide variety of stocks, minimize your exposure, maximize your return, and it'll compound your investment as it's in there. Your stock only goes up as it goes up. This one will compound yearly as you add money. It will continue to compound. By the time you're in that same 10 years, you might be walking away with, well over six figures. Well, maybe not well over, probably like $120,000, $130,000. And that's only at like $200 a month. I mean, I saw this thing where they said they're investing $3,000 in one of these type of policies for all low-income children in some city, and by the time they're 18, it's going to be worth. They invest $3,000 one time and don't make another contribution at all. And by the time they're 18, it's worth like $10,000. So if you really think about it, that's 18 years to make $7,000. You could go outside and hustle faster than that. My thing is, if they had kept paying into that policy those whole 18 years, at the end of the 18 years, the policy would have been worth $120,000, and that's totally different. That's the power of compounding.
My thing with it is, I feel like my strategy with the stock market right now, because me, I like paying myself first. That's something that my dad instills in me a lot. You definitely got to pay yourself first. As soon as you get your paycheck, don't just run to the store and spend all your money. Don't just give all your money to another person's business or to another person, because they're not going to look out for you. You got to look out for yourself. So that's something that I'm big on. So my strategy with the stock market is just like, I'll just put like you said, a normal contribution, like $100, $200, $300 a month in the stock market. It's not necessarily money that I really need, but I just put it in there so that, one, I don't spend it. So that's a big thing for me. I kind of hide money for myself. So that's kind of my strategy with the stock market. Just put it in there and forget about it. And then two, like I said, don't spend it. And then two, so I can make some gains on my money, because if it's just sitting in my account, I'm either going to be willing to spend, or I'm going to want to spend it, or it's going to be making pennies on the dollar in interest. So I feel like the stock market is a better investment. I'm not necessarily looking for huge gains right away. Like, I'm willing to wait 10 years, because I understand that stocks have been one of the investments that offer a better return for I read something that said stocks have been the ultimate investment for the past 75 years. Giving you 10% of your money, as opposed to a bank or something in the other investment giving you 3%, 1%. So I feel like the stock market is a better option if you want to get those greater returns at a more passive investment strategy, if that makes sense.
Of course. I think anything other than putting your money in the bank is a better idea. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to get away from putting my money, or just leaving my money in the bank. I'm trying to have my first property real soon. That's definitely what I want to put my money in. Looking forward to that. Do you own any properties?
Yeah, I own a house. I'm a shaker.
You just have one?
Yeah, just one now. Yeah, I decided not to get into the real estate market yet.
What you waiting for?
I got other things that are making me money. I'm working on them, and I'm the type of guy where if I can't come in, buy the house, pay for the rehab, and never have to walk in that house, I don't want to do it. I'm overextended enough. I pride myself in my work. I don't have to do myself. So if I can't set it up like that, it took me 1.5 years to get my house fixed because of how bad of a contractors I had. I'll be damned if I go invest 50 grand in a house and I got to sit on it for 6 months because I can't get anybody to fix it. So that's just me though. I'm going to get in somewhere. You just have to be willing to be spread in that manner. So it's like that's just your timing. I chose a different path out the gate and choose just to get in real estate. My buddy's very heavily in real estate, probably multi-millionaire at this point. So it just depends on the situation.
Are you ready to improve your financial wellness? Join today for free. Come visit us at www.equitymovement247.com.
You mentioned you had bad contractors when you purchased your first house. If you could go back to making your first purchase as far as a home, what would you do differently?
I just hired better contractors.
Hire better contractors?
Yeah, I just had a bunch of people after me over. There's nothing really I can better describe about that. I mean, it happens to everybody. I say get a contract, minute in writing, but that's, to be brutally honest with you, it's also a waste of time because by the time you go to court, pay your lawyer, wait the time, you've come out double the money anyway. And they know that. So very rarely is suing a contractor worth it unless you're just trying to prove a point. So I still say get contracts, get everything in writing, of course, 100%. But at the same time, that's the risk you run in doing business. That's why you got to protect the people that you're working with.
And so let's go back to the business. How would you say that in today, how do you stimulate your business mind? Like, what do you do to keep yourself sharp? What do you do to stay focused? What do you do to, like I said, keep progressing, keep trying to get to that next level? Like, what are some things that you do?
I'm a bad example.
Really?
I'm relatively motivated. Like, I've worked so relatively much that I spend the rest of my time just kicking it, to be honest with you. It's like I'm still 26, I'm still in the house of fun. Yeah. So I don't really, I'm not the guy who, gets up and reads a book of things every day. I'm not the guy who, sits there and writes down his, big motivating words on the board. I'm not that guy. I just get up, write my to-do list, and know that if I don't get this shit done, I can't keep living the life I want to live. So, I don't really have anything good for you on that one. I just got
that's good. I feel like I actually like that you've been in, so to say, overcomplicated, because I feel like it's easier for people watching to relate to it. Everything doesn't have to be as hard as it may seem.
I think that's a very good point. I think people over-exaggerate or over-complicate a lot of things.
I try not to. I'm definitely an overthinker, so that's something I work on. I try not to overanalyze things. I'm trying to be more spontaneous. That's something I'm working on. So just doing things, just getting out there, and not worrying about how it's going to get done or how it's going to go, because you can't control that. I'm a big believer in controlling things that I have control over, and just allowing God to do the rest. Do you believe in God, or you?
Yeah.
Would you say you're real religious or more spiritual?
More spiritual. Yeah, but I'm a religious person, but again, I'm not the guy, sometimes I forget to pray before I eat, things like that. I try to be better about that. But yeah.
Trying to think, anything else?
No, that's pretty much it for me, man.
All right, I'm going to end it with this one. What is, because this podcast is focused to people my age, 18, I'll say 23 or 24, so about that 6 year. I mean, obviously anybody that wants to tune in can tune in, but I feel like that's the focus. But what is one thing you would tell somebody my age, or even younger than me, 15, 16, 13, 12, what's something you would tell them about achieving the life that you want? If you could sum it up.
I could sum it up. I say try as many different things as you can, as young as you can, because you don't know what you like. And if you wait till you're 25 to start trying to figure that out, it's not a good look. You don't want to be making your mistakes when you need to be focusing on your career. Get your mistakes out early. If you have a business, start it young. If you have an idea, try to do it. If you want to play a sport or pursue a hobby, go for it young. If you find out that's not what you want to do, you don't want to be stuck 26, 27, pursuing a dream that's not going to get you there. But I do say also believe in yourself. Don't just give up on everything because it didn't go right the first week either. I just think that it's important to get out there and take chances early. So that way, if you do fail, you learn, and if you don't, you might not ever look back. So.
I can definitely attest to that. That's something I've recently been trying to get myself to understand. You just gotta do things. You can't really be scared of failure because if you focus on failure, that's what's gonna come. Whatever you focus on, that's automatically what you're attracting. If you focus on failure, you're gonna fail. If you focus on success, then you have more of a possibility to succeed. So I definitely agree with you there. You just gotta try your hand at a lot of things. That's something I've been doing. For example, I make candles. I got a podcast. I work full time. I'm studying real estate. So I'm just throwing a lot of stuff at the wall right now, seeing what sticks, what doesn't, seeing what I like, seeing what I'm passionate about, and whatever sticks, whatever I actually like doing, whatever I feel like I can keep running with for years on end. That's what I'm gonna run with. That's what I'm gonna use, and that's what I'm just gonna keep pursuing.
It's good. Sounds great.
Thank y'all for listening to another episode of the Gen Z Future Fortunes podcast. This was Anthony. You had a great interview.
And thank you for your time. Thanks for having me, brother.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast. This was produced by Equity Movement 247 to reach this incredible group of young individuals. Guess what, Gen Z? You're up next. So follow us at Gen Z Future Fortunes at Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We want to hear from you.